An absolute clinic by your Purdue Boilermakers. They win the championship in the Bahamas, a 30-point drubbing on a top 15 team in the country. We're going to be talking about it all here on Boilers in the Stands postgame show starting right now. And we are back here on Boilers in the Stands postgame show edition, championship edition, as the Purdue Boilermakers win the tournament in the Bahamas as they take down Memphis yesterday. And then tonight was a much easier affair as they faced the number 15 team in the country in Texas Tech and completely hand it to them as they win by 30 points. At one point at the end of the first half, go on a 23-3 run before the halftime buzzer. And we're going to get into some reactions and everything else. I am your host, Craig Braggs Jr. Alongside me, as always, is Joe Jackson. Craig Bowers is in the Bahamas. Got to see everything firsthand, which was certainly a lot of fun. I'm not sure he's going to be able to join tonight as he's got to catch a flight as soon as the press conferences are over. But we'll continue to give you coverage from there as well, or just make sure you're following everything Craig's doing from there in the Caribbean as well. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as Purdue moves to 6-0 on the season. I mean, quickly for me, I'll just say this much. That was one of the most impressive displays of basketball I have seen Purdue play ever. I mean, honestly, and that's going all the way through all the Edey years, Jaden Ivey years, the Travion Williams years, the Isaac Haas years, and this golden era of basketball has been going on a long time. But tonight was one of the more impressive displays of basketball on both ends of the court, and I think that's what stands out. We've seen games where Purdue, hits 23s. We've seen games where they have a good defensive effort, dominant defensive effort even, but I have rarely seen them put together a full 40 minutes of basketball the way they did tonight. They were surgical on the offensive end. They were dominant on the defensive end. Everything came together. All the things we've talked about in terms of the potential of this team's lineup really just came all together in one game here tonight against Texas Tech, and it was impressive to watch. And so now Purdue will come back home and start to take care of business at Mackey Arena as we continue through non-conference play. Joe, I'm sure you'll be able to break a little bit down on the board. We'll talk about individual plays, but this was an impressive win for Purdue to put on their resume as they try to build this thing up to get to March Madness.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, right, we know what Texas Tech is, and maybe they're going to struggle a little bit early and still try to find their ways as they try to replace some players. But, I mean, they almost knocked off Illinois at home. They beat a solid Wake Forest team yesterday. This isn't just a game where Purdue should win by margin. It was a game where probably felt like it should have been somewhat close, even if Purdue did have the advantage. But Purdue dominated. Like any game like this where, I mean, I guess I don't know. I won't speak for all Purdue fans, but how I was feeling in the second half was just like TKR and Cluff and Jacobson were diving for some loose balls with like 10 minutes left. And I was like, we can live without those right now. And you're just kind of counting down the minutes till the walk-ons come on. When the only thing you can really think about is like, all right, just don't get hurt in the second half. That's just how you know how impressive of a game this was. By far the best defensive performance we've seen from Purdue this season. Probably better than any that we saw last season from Purdue as well. I know they had their little stretch kind of in January where it was really good, but nothing to this capacity, especially when you figure in like Texas Tech is similar to Purdue in the sense that they're a team that's more offensive balanced, right? They were a top 10 offense in KenPom going into the game and like 30 something defensively. And Purdue just didn't they just did whatever they wanted. The defensive rotations, the defensive energy, the defensive communication was by far the best it's been all season. This is kind of who Purdue's going to be. We'll break it down on the board in a sec once we start diving in a little bit more. But just, I mean, utter dominance from this team. Basically from what, like 4 to 3 to 4 minutes in, Texas Tech hit a couple threes early and it was looking close. And then Purdue just absolutely dominated. I believe there was like a 13-minute stretch where Texas Tech scored 3 points, I believe, between like the last 7 minutes of the first half and first 6 of the second half or something along those lines. Really, really impressive stuff. This was the game. This was the first game where Purdue absolutely looked like the best team in the country. They had the Bama win. Yeah. What else is there to say other than this was just incredibly impressive?
Really was. And when you talk about that stretch, we can talk about the 3-pointers, and they were all getting in on the action. I think all starters finished in double figures in points. Fletcher Lawyer started to rain fire on them at the end of the first half. CJ Cox carried over his hot shooting from last night to tonight to start the game, really set the tone. But really, you have to look at that run, that 23-3 run to end the first half and how they started the second half. The defensive performance was so incredible to watch, so impressive to watch. And maybe you'll be able to point out what they were doing, that was unique specifically on the board. But for me, it was really just their foundational rules that they always play with on defense. And Texas Tech just did not have an answer. And it goes to show you, when you are moving your feet, when you are rotating and staying with your assignments, and you're keeping your guys in front of you, Purdue's defense now with, Oscar Cluff and Jack Benner and some different guys here that have some different assets or versatility or strength, toughness, whatever you want to say that brings to the table. They just have so many different options, and there's no let off with who you bring off the bench as well. So these rotations just kind of keep coming at you. But from a defensive standpoint, like we've all seen it a million times, they double the post, they allow the kick out, and then they rotate defensively. And there was one possession in particular where it started in the post, they kicked it out, CJ Cox goes out and covers it. So then they move the ball around the perimeter, Texas Tech, and Purdue just kept chasing them off. So then they tried to get it back into the post. Purdue doubled the post again. They tried to kick it out, and there was nothing they could do. And so then as possessions kept going on, they started throwing the ball out of bounds, because at one point, Braden kind of tricked them where he was like kind of testing them to see if he was going to do the skip pass to the 3-point corner. Instead, he makes a last-second decision, Texas Tech does, to throw it to the middle of the court. It sails over his head out of bounds. And that was just the complete mind warp that Purdue had Texas Tech in. And it compounds for Texas Tech when Purdue's being surgical on the other end offensively, whether it's 3-point balls going in or Oscar Cluff just completely dominating or cleaning up the glass, getting every single rebound in his sight. And that's what I mean. Like to your point of tonight was the first night they really showed they were the number one team in the country. And maybe someone will be like, well, wait a minute. They beat Alabama at Alabama. That was a wholly impressive win. Tonight was the night that they put on full display all the hype we heard about all these different features that would bring to this Purdue lineup, from Oscar Cluff to Omer Meyer to Jack Benter and Daniel Jacobson, and so many different options outside of Braden Smith, who he could have just slept on the beach these last 2 days, and they probably still would have found. I say that a little tongue in cheek. I know, he racked up the assist total last night against Memphis, but to the point, like you really didn't get that much out of Braden Smith, and they're still out there dominating, especially tonight. And it's just Braden sat the last 9 minutes of the game. I'm like, man, he could be chasing the assist record right now. Instead, no, just take a seat. They bring in the walk-ons at the 4-minute and 18-minute mark of the game against a top 15 team in the country. So sure, we'll go into team stats. We'll look at the minutes chart. We'll look at there's really nothing left to say other than tonight was one of the more impressive performances in program history. And tonight showed why this team is looking at a march to Indianapolis. And I heard some people early on when they were struggling and they lose to Kentucky in an exhibition game and they weren't looking perfect, like, people stop talking about Indianapolis. No, this team has a mission. And if they're looking this good right now, there is going to be a whole nother level of this. I know it from everything I've seen from a Matt Painter program over the last 10 years. I know there will be a whole nother level to this team by the time we get to February and March. It's going to be an exciting year, and I'm excited for everybody in the chat and everybody that follows this program to hang out with us while we go through this journey, because they're great, man. They're so much fun to watch. Tonight was basketball poetry.
It's like after yesterday's game, we were like, what is there really to take away with how ugly and just weird the game was? And it's almost the opposite tonight. It's like, what is there to take away other than Purdue is just like they weren't even in the same class as Texas Tech today. Like Texas Tech wasn't even close. And so it gets tough to like take anything major away other than, hey, Purdue is really good. Purdue, I guess for me, it is good to see Purdue have this level. They're not going to hit this level every single game, right? It's not going to happen. But just knowing that they have this gear to them that they can tap into come March, like that's the big thing to me. Through both of these games, they showed yesterday they can win a dogfight, scrappy game against a super athletic team, super long and athletic team, and they showed today that if it's going to be more of a skill finesse game, they're going to dominate that one. Across the board, impressive stuff. KenPom updated. They're up to 21st in defense for anybody that kind of is keeping track of that. Generally, the mark is top 30. I will say right now that is not at all a hard number. If they are 38th in the country defensively at the end of the season, they absolutely can still win the championship. Don't let any stats or anything tell you otherwise, but just crazy impressive. And then also this offense is historically good. Like I said it in the offseason, like, hey, this offense could be, and I'm just ready to say it, like, historically good this offense will be. I believe they're the second or third best in KenPom history right now in terms of offense, and it should only get better. And like you said, Braden goes, 4 of 7. He has 10 points, just kind of 10 double digits across the board, 7 players get into it. So we can get into some of the more specifics right now, but just, I mean, Purdue doesn't play for a week. You get to enjoy Thanksgiving now, knowing Purdue just did this, and it's a good win in more than one way.
Well, and I'll say this much too. I was, as much as we all, root for Miles Colvin, who really set the tone to start the night, hitting the game-winning 3 over Memphis. They run the Bryce Drew play. They're down 2 with 1.5 seconds left on the clock. They throw it the length of the court to the big man, kick out to 3. Miles Colvin buries the 3 to win the game at the buzzer, and all the Boilers fans chanting Colvin, and Colvin gets a really special moment for him, and we're all rooting for him and his endeavors as he goes forward in his collegiate career. It just didn't work out for him at Purdue, but at the same time, it's all love for Miles, and that set the tone. And now you move on to this game, and it's just one of those things where again, you appreciate these kind of wins. So, the other thing I'll say too, when you talk about KenPom, I just feel like it sometimes can be a little skewed. I was saying this in the second half. If they had kept up with the same intensity that they were playing with for the first 25 minutes of the game, they let off the ropes. So I don't know how KenPom kind of looks at those kind of things, but to me, their defensive metrics should soar from a game like this, even if there was some points. I mean, the last 15 minutes of the game were a wash. So, like, how does that work in terms of the scoring that happens in that kind of game? So sometimes I think those metrics can be skewed because of a game like tonight, right? Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
I mean, a little bit. It definitely takes into account, though, that they won by 30 points. I mean, Purdue's defense jumped 27 spots defensively to just off of this game, I believe. Something like that. So they jumped from like 48th to 21st. And honestly, like if Purdue plays this level of defense every game, they are a top 20 defense. I would argue 21st is probably a little bit high for what they really are. Just being realistic for a second, but we can get into the defensive rotations and stuff. It was really impressive stuff from Purdue.
Absolutely. Let's read a few super chats here before we take a quick time out to thank our sponsors for the program. Double D Sports. Appreciate you, man. He's fired up here in the chat. Says Bits is the best. Double D's podcast, second best. So hey, we're not ranking them here. We're all we're all love. Everybody does a great job. The whole Purdue beat as well, but we appreciate the support as well. Brian Newbert is the GOAT. All those guys in that room, Sam King and our guy, all the way across the board, Boiler Upload. Everybody does a great job. Even Sleepers, we love those guys. Casey Bartley's a good friend of what we do. So that's the main thing. Like, if you follow my Bears coverage, you know how competitive the Chicago media industry is. And the thing I appreciate about covering Purdue basketball is everybody that covers Purdue. Nathan Baird with Indy Star, I believe, does a really good job. Everybody does such a good job, and everybody's so supportive of each other. So no competition here. We're all just grateful to be covering a really fun program in Purdue basketball. And he says, best game I've seen Purdue play. What a win. 40-0 lockdown defense. Absolutely. Bonner Boiler Ball, $5 super chat. He brought in and said, oh my God, what a game. Great job, Boilers in the stands. Appreciate you. Salty B says for $5 super chat. Thank you, Salty B. Suffocating D, team ball and complete domination. And Jordan Graham coming in here with a $20 super chat. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Certainly a big way of helping what we do around here. Says Cluff's toughness and effort low, get down low, get the team so hyped. Seems like that effort starts to get infectious and the train gets rolling. Great coverage, guys. Love watching these breakdowns, win or lose. Thank you, Jordan Graham, as always, for the super chat. We're certainly going to get into Oscar Club. We'll get into some individual breakdowns here in a little bit. We'll give you some team stats. Maybe we'll even see the board make an appearance, as Purdue is surgical on the offensive end and absolutely dominant on the defensive end. So a lot to get to here. Quick timeout to thank our sponsor here for the show, and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for everybody tuning in. 2 minute away here, and we'll get back to more Purdue basketball talk. But first,
hey folks, quick shout out to our new sponsor that's making it easier and shinier than ever to keep your ride looking fresh. Introducing Remington Auto Wash, your locally owned and family operated car wash located 30 minutes north of Purdue University in Remington, Indiana. Whether you're in a rush or love doing it yourself, they've got you covered. Touchless automatic bay, perfect for a fast, scratch-free clean with no brushes, no worries. Self-serve bays for the hands-on car lovers who want to wash, rinse, and shine their way. High-powered vacuums, perfect for getting your interior looking as good as the outside. Clean water, top-quality soaps, and equipment that is run by real people right here in the community. Swing by Remington Auto Wash and support a local business that cares about your car just as much as you do. Open 24 hours a day at the corner of U.S. Highway 24 and 231 in Remington, Indiana. That's Remington Auto Wash, where clean cars and local pride go hand in hand.
thank you to Remington Auto Wash. As always, we appreciate your support to the program here as we continue to break down this 30-point drubbing of a top 15 team in the country in Texas Tech. So let's get to it. Where do you want to take it next? We got the board, we got the minutes, we got the team stats. Where you want to go with this, Joe?
Let's start with the board, so that way we can kind of just set the table then to talk through some of the players and what they're able to do. And we are going to obviously talk about what the defensive did. I guess I shouldn't say obviously. It's not like Purdue's offense was slouching. This was Purdue's best defensive game. I will say, well, I'll talk about it as we get through. I'll save it for as I talk through. So basically the big thing, just forcing threes. I believe in the first half, Texas Tech took 20 of their 27 shots from three, and only one shot was at the rim. On the game, Texas Tech takes 8 total shots out of 60 at the rim. They take 34 threes, only make 8 of them. And it is very, very much by design, right? We know, if we're being realistic, this Purdue's defense does not have a ton of great individual defenders, right? You have a couple solid bigs and a couple solid guards, but like there's not that elite level of just like, oh, Purdue can just win the one-on-one matchups. So what they do is they have to buy in defensively as a team. And so X's offense, O's defense. We're seeing more and more of this drop coverage from the big, right? So if this is a ball screen, this big is guarding whoever's setting the screen. He's just going to kind of drop back. His goal is to keep the roller and the ball handler in front. It's basically, as he comes off, keeping the ball in front. Now, if this is happening this way, actually, I'm going to flip these really quick just for my example specifically, what you'll see is this is called the low man. Whoever's like kind of weak side guarding the corner, that's called the low man. They are, I mean, sometimes they were ended up here, right? This guy usually ended up over here. And so as they're coming off this ball screen, right? So you got ball here, you got trailer coming over the screen, you got roller, and JT Toppin's an elite short roller, especially. And then you have a big, maybe in head or a drop right here. As this roller happens, this guy's able to pick him up. And basically, you're just living with this skip pass, right? You're living with this happening. And if it did happen, right? So say, right? So balls here, trailer. This guy is usually going to gap up and kind of play these two somewhere in this area. So that way, if this skip pass happens, then it's called an X out close, like an X closeout, where essentially this skip happens. We know this guy is here because, right, he's kind of covering this roll man. So now this guy, he's coming to close out here. He's closing out here. So even if the ball swings, like you're staying covered. Now matchups maybe get messed up a little bit, but you can live with that, right? Especially knowing that there are flaws with Purdue's individual defense. And it was just kind of like that the whole night. And even I tried to draw something on the other side. I'll just erase this. It'll be fine. Even in the post, it's the same thing, right? Where say, Texas Tech gets the ball in the post. It's called like Buffalo defense, where essentially this on-ball defender is shading this way. And so I'll redraw him where he's more like this. And again, like say this guy's here, this defender, instead of being in this area, he's going to rotate way over here. You get that double. And then, right, you can just kind of play from there. Let me make sure I get the right numbers. So, then it might be something like this, where then whoever this defender is, right, instead of being here, he's now here. And so again, if that skip pass happens, it's like either this guy's taking and this guy's rotate. Like that's kind of what would happen. If this skip pass happened, right, this one right here, he's rotating, he rotates up, right? And now you can see you kind of just stay put. If this skip pass happened, I know it's getting a little messy on the board now, right? Now he would close out here, he would close here, and you just rotate and you stay in front. And that's what the defense is very much designed to do. Now with that, I will say Texas Tech missed a few wide open threes. There are going to be games this season, and we even saw it a bit with the Bama. There are going to be games where teams just get hot from three. And there will be criticism, I'm sure, of why aren't you defending the 3-point line better and things like that. It's part of the defense. This defense, offenses in general are too good you can't take away everything. But especially, again, given some of the deficiencies within the defense, you have to rely on a system like this to be able to cover up the gaps, to be able to rotate and close out. And what stood out today, both out of the post and out of pick and roll, just the rotations were so on point. It was immediate, rotating, Xing out, getting to the correct closeout, and just living with if there was any mismatches from there. And that's why I'll look it up to double check. I have the stats right. Yeah, 20 of Texas Tech's 26 shots in the first half were from three. That's going to be a formula Purdue lives with. Now, if it is a game maybe where they're going, shooting 55% from three, maybe Purdue adjusts. And you saw a little bit after Chris Anderson knocked down a couple. You saw Purdue start to go to a little bit more of a hedge and try to push the ball out. But just really impressive stuff. And to summarize it all, if you live in that type of rotation defensively, everybody has to be on point, everybody has to be giving energy, and everybody has to be communicating. I would say 98% of the plays today, Purdue checked all three of those boxes. And when that happens, this is the type of defense that you can get.
Yeah, and not giving many second chance opportunities because they were cleaning up the glass. Trey Kaufman-Renn the last two nights, and obviously Oscar Cluff, who you can make the argument was the MVP of these last 2 days. Him and CJ Cox were certainly standouts in that regard, just dominating. And so it compounds itself. Yes, the 3-pointers were keeping, Texas Tech in it early on, and even at one point took an 18-17 lead. But then once, Purdue really started to lock up those rotations, and then on the other end, they were just flawless on offense. Well, it starts to compound itself. And it was almost laughable at one point, especially like to start the second half. You're down 25, Texas Tech. You might want to start taking the ball inside. You're settling for way too many threes. And you saw that pivot with about 14 minutes to go or so, where they were like, okay, it was almost like a waving the white flag. We're going to start taking this ball inside because, I mean, if not, this could have been a 50+ point drubbing, if they didn't just start focusing on trying to just run plays that didn't have the, hey, let's try to get back into this game in mind, and that's kind of where it got at one point. And so it's just a credit to Purdue, man. They absolutely took it to them. And you made another really good point in terms of the hustle. You see Cluff getting on the floor at one point in the second half. You see Trey Kaufman-Renn getting on the floor to start the second half. Like, these guys, even though it was a huge deficit, their hustle and intensity wasn't stopping, all the way to the point at the end of the game where they were still Daniel Jacobson's on the floor, like chill out, but at the same time, that was the intensity they played with tonight. They really put it on full display. And, anybody that had any questions about what this team's going to be all about this year really got shut up tonight because, you brought it up earlier, but Illinois, they were beating up Texas Tech early on in that game at Illinois, but then they let Texas Tech back in it in the second half. And so that ended up being a pretty close game at the end. And then, if you're going to go off the transitive property again, but Illinois lost to Alabama at the United Center, whereas, those are the two common denominator games. And, they were much different games for Purdue. So we'll see how things look down the road when Purdue takes on Illinois. I think they only play them once at Mackey. So a little bit of a schedule favor there in that regard. But regardless, I believe Illinois is still a very good team who still kind of has
very good team.
Very good team who has Elite Eight, Final Four potential. But I do think that they have to figure some things out of how they want to play together with all the different moving pieces they have. Whereas Purdue also had that issue to start the year. And within 6 games, they've already started to figure it out. And that's, to me, a scary proposition for the rest of the NCAA. That's what, to me, was the biggest standout tonight. Like, these guys are getting really comfortable around each other.
Yeah, and that's, I think, starts with Oscar Cluff, right? He struggled the first couple games, even though he still put up good numbers, and maybe that's a good transition to kind of get into some of the player breakdowns.
Yeah,
and maybe we don't have to hit on every single person, but I mean, Cluff has 15 points, 15 boards, 7 of them offensive in only 20. He put up 15 and 15 in only 21 minutes.
That's insane.
Yeah, it had an assist as well, 6 of 8 from the field, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. He looked like a grown man. They brought up him working in like the metal factory or whatever a couple times. It showed. Some of that just grown man strength absolutely showed. And it's been awesome to see him just become more. It feels like every game he's just becoming more and more comfortable. This game, you saw him post up a couple times and where it was more of just like, I'm going to get to my spot. I'm going to convert. He's not going to be high usage in the post, but if he can have 2 to 3 possessions per game and convert at a good rates, like that's a couple more points and something else teams have to game plan for. He is right now currently 2nd in the country in individual offensive rebounding percentage. He is, that's how this math works. When he is on the floor, he himself, not as a team, but he himself is rebounding 25% of Purdue's misses. So 1 out of every 4 Purdue misses while Cluff is on the floor, he is rebounding on the offensive end. He's, it was a little bit of a clunky fit, I think, at first. And the thing is, there's probably more to go with how he can fit in. But I mean, he's had double doubles in 3 games. He scored 9+ points in every single game. I believe he's had 9+ or 7+ rebounds in every single game. I mean, what a get from Purdue in the portal.
Yeah, and that drop step at one point when he was isolated one-on-one, like that was really, really impressive to see. And I think the other thing too is based off of, last night and some of the comments Matt Painter said after the game of this team needs to have better composure. There was times where things got physical and Cluff was like Thanos, like laughing in the face of any kind of physicality, or like when they both had the tie up and they fell to the ground, there was like, it was just, play on, and then Cluff immediately gets another rebound. And I think he had a dunk right after that. Like, it was just one of those imposing moments where Cluff just like, just just physically manhandled Texas Tech in a lot of ways. And then Trey Kaufman-Renn, I know he got in the action, but it is funny watching TKR now try to figure things out. And he almost fouled out of this game here again tonight. Like, I was telling my wife, we're watching the game, I'm like, last year he was like the only big man on the court. Now he's got a guy out there that can do the dirty work, and somehow he's getting more fouls here these last 2 games. So, sometimes it just runs into Trey and he gets so frustrated. But he's also a guy that's not afraid to get in on the action and get in the fight, and so now you got 2 guys that are just bulldozing people. They might not be the tallest guys, but they're 2 of the strongest guys that you're gonna face in this league, and you got them together. And then if you do need the tall guy, you got Daniel Jacobson that can come in and really change, how you have to approach Purdue's defense. So it's cool, man. It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, sticking with the front court, TKR only plays. I'll pull the stats back up. He only plays 20 minutes, but he has 12 points, 6 boards. Right, gets into some foul trouble. Some of it, like, I think it's awesome to see the level of aggression. At times, he may have to almost scale it back just a touch. My only real note on him though is he has just that it feels like everything's personal, and what I'm about to say, I'm not saying TKR is as good as what Edie was, especially Edie's senior year, but especially during Edie's senior season, you could just tell there was a different level. Edie just knew he was better. He was more physical. He knew nobody could touch him. And TKR kind of reminds me of that right now. Just he has this kind of swagger to him where it's just he just looks I think I said it after, I don't know if it was last post game or one of the previous ones, he looks like somebody who the entire offseason just thought about, I want to win a national championship. It just feels like he has that kind of edge to him this season. And
you saw it early on when he took Toppin in the post and got him up in the air. And, it was just, he made that face afterwards. This dude can't guard me, and I know Toppin's known for his scoring and stuff, but at the same time, that was a moment there where TKR was kind of no, you ain't touching this.
No, exactly. And I would rather Purdue have to scale TKR back a bit than need more out of him. And if they need to almost scale back the aggression just a touch for foul issues, I think Purdue would rather have that problem than the other way around.
Yeah. Maybe it's a little bit of hyperbole, but I would say TKR and Braden could have hung out on the beach tonight and Purdue still wins this game. And that to me, I know I'm just kind of flexing because they won by 30, but it felt like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of just shows you how good this team can be.
Exactly. This is Braden still had a solid game, but when we're talking about Braden standards, it wasn't anything special. When you're talking about TKR standards, it wasn't anything special, and they still just absolutely dominated this game from just a couple minutes on, and just really, really impressive to see. Let's talk about Jacobson. We'll kind of round up the bigs, and then maybe we can group some of the guards together. Jacobson, 11 points, 8 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks, did have 2 turnovers and 2 fouls, 4 of 4 from the field, knocked down a 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. I think it felt like early on he was kind of had to adjust a bit to the physicality again, and I think that's been a common theme. But after he adjusted, just felt like he got more in rhythm. His one post look early on, he went up quicker. It felt like it was more decisive. I like seeing that, and I also just thought the defense was good overall on Toppin, where especially in the first half. Second half maybe fell off a touch, but it is what it is. But the first half especially, I thought just a good job of eating up enough space, being physical enough, and just making life difficult for Toppin.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll keep rolling this thing along. We got a few more super chats in here. Jason Depew, $5 super chat saying, Bits, such great content. Hit the like, people. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate your support. As always, Patel, Boiler Up, $2 super chat saying, dominating the boards. Absolutely. And then we've got Late Night Tips Live, $5 super chat saying, boys will be turning up tonight, 18 to drink in the Bahamas and no game for a week. Good on you, fellas. We'll see. Stay out of trouble there, Purdue. But I'm sure they'll have some fun tonight. T Prime 1023 $10 super chat says such a fun night. Starts with the Miles buzzer beater, crowd chanting Colvin. Commentators saying, I guess once a Boilermaker, always a Boilermaker, followed by this great palate cleanser after last night. Yes, Purdue was able to get into a more of a rhythm. The refs certainly, I think, had a better bounce back game. I'm pretty sure it was the same officiating crew as last night. And I thought they were in more control of this game. Obviously, it got out of hand. I was talking with an official last night who I DM with on the side. Maybe one day we'll bring to the program. But he made a great comment. He's like, games are always tougher to officiate when the ball's not going in the rim, going in the hoop. And when there's misses, there's going to be rebounds, there's going to be traffic, there's going to be fights for it. And that's what you saw last night. Tonight, Purdue was 7 of 9 from 3 to start the first half. And so there's just not much to, fight over when the ball's going in the hoop like that. So his point was well taken in that regard. But the officials, I think, did a little better tonight as opposed to last night. Now, the commentators, on the other hand, maybe I'll have some comments at the end of the game for the broadcast of this game, but I'll leave that for the end. Let's get to more player breakdown. Where do you want to go next, Joe?
I mean, do you have any one of the guards specifically you want to talk about first, or do you want to group them all? Or
yeah, I mean, just group them up. I mean, it's late. We can go quick with this one. I mean, that like we said to start, not crazy takeaways other than how balanced and impressive this game was for Purdue.
Yeah, we'll do the trio starting guards who all had 10 points, and that is CJ Cox, Fletch, and Braden. All had 10 points. Braden had 7 assists to go along with it. All three also had 2 turnovers. All three knocked down 2 threes. A couple rebounds between the few. CJ added in a steal. You got the shot making early from CJ. He really, I think, opened up the game, and that started because of what he was able to do defensively, I thought. Just like good defensive effort from the jump, opened up his game offensively. Fletch doesn't need a lot of shots to be able to be productive. Braden just controlled the pick and roll. I will continue to say I do not think it is smart for a defense to ever play drop coverage against Braden. I think you are just inviting him to be able to get whatever shot that he wants out of it. Not that he can't beat other coverages because he's obviously that good, but more of it just like he can just kind of pick it apart. Just really impressive stuff. I thought the defensive energy from really all three was great. CJ's on-ball pressure was awesome. I thought this was Braden's probably best defensive game on ball. Fletch's rotations were really good. I just was really impressed with the trio. And, they take, 23 shots total and have 30 points. That's a pretty good recipe.
Yeah, absolutely. CJ, I think really came into his own here these last couple games. Fletcher Lawyer, I'm really enjoying just how much fun he's having out there, and doesn't look fazed by anything right now, whether it's tough defense or, tough games like last night or tough environments like Alabama. He's just out there just having the time of his life, and it's really enjoyable for me as a fan to watch. Where else you want to go? Is there any other individual guys you want to stand out? I mean, Jack Benner, I don't know if we touched on him enough last night to truly, I know you did mention him. But over the last 2 games, I feel like Benner really stood out in some ways of things he brings to the table and his versatility, but wherever you want to take it next.
I have a quick board. We'll just do a quick one because it's kind of related to the guards, and then we'll keep it shorter from here on out. This is the first time I've seen them run this. I love this action. It's called a post split. Lawyer here enters the ball into TKR in the post. And so I don't know why I erased the 4, but it's called a post split. So Lawyer, he entered the ball into the post. And then the post split is this kind of screening action. It's basically just a flare screen immediately after the post entry pass. The Warriors, I'm sure there are teams before the Warriors that ran it, but at least from my era, the Warriors are the team that this is known for, with between Steph, Draymond, Clay, etc. So post entry pass, and then just immediately coming off this flare, where now Lawyer's going to come here. I think Cluff, I believe he dove after he set the screen, and then you just saw if this double comes off here, that skip pass is just going to be there, even if they stayed like they did. It's so quick. It's boom, post entry, flare immediately, skip pass, and then Lawyer was, I believe, or no, on this one, actually what happened was, as this happened, so you get this skip pass to Lawyer here. I believe this defender made the rotation up to Lawyer, and Lawyer made the extra pass, and then CJ was able to knock it down. So just a quick hitter, something I saw. I haven't seen Purdue run it, at least knowingly. So, and like I said, it's one of my favorite actions that I see in basketball. So I just wanted to bring it up as we kind of talked about the guards. But yeah, I think we can. I mean, the only other three I guess we really have to talk about are Meyer, Benner, and Harris. We can just start with Harris really quick. It's more of like, right, I think the defense was good. Shot wasn't falling. His minutes are continuing to fall a little bit. I do think it's less of Jakari being bad and more of, like, if CJ's going to do what CJ did today and Meyer's going to do what he has done at times, like, there are only so many minutes to go around. Jakari's kind of getting squeezed. Benner, like, I thought Benner held up really well in more an expanded role today, kind of with the minutes that he had to play, obviously given TKR his foul trouble. And I was just impressed with his comfort handling the ball against, a defense that could have some upside of kind of creating some deflections and things. I think this was a good matchup for Benner, where he generally didn't have to go up against a super big four, but it was still just good to see him be able to kind of, Benner he didn't even take a three. It felt like every time he was just kind of driving the ball, adds in 5 rebounds as well. So it was good to see Benner be able to do that.
Good job where he got ran off the 3-point line, took it to the rack, put it off the glass and in. We've had guys in the past that are knocked down 3 guys, but really don't have that kind of capability, especially early on. Maybe they develop that capability after 3 or 4 years in the system and they get comfortable and a little more confident. This is his first year, and for him, he's not playing like a freshman or a redshirt freshman. He's playing like a junior at this point. And he's got the body structure for versatility of being able to defend bigger guys or play like a guard, whether it's on the offensive or defensive end. So he's going to really be somebody they can go to when, whether, one of the bigs are in foul trouble or if it's a matchup thing. And he's a real, tool on the work belt for Matt Painter and somebody they can go to. Now, Omer Meyer, just like we're talking about Oscar Cluff, Omer Meyer is, it's not always going to be perfect. I don't even know if I should even start this statement off by saying this, but he's actually been really impressive here lately. You can see the pure shooting ability he has, but when I watch him kind of dribble down on the top of the key and keep a guy attached to his hip, but he understands he's controlling that guy.
Yeah.
And then pull up jumper and it's pure, where it looks smooth as silk. Like, that's high level basketball. Like, that's the kind of shot there where you're like, okay, that's where it shows this guy's played professional basketball for a few years.
Yeah.
Because that's not an easy shot to take. And it's even more difficult to make it look that effortless.
Yeah, no, that's what I call keeping the defender in jail, when you can kind of keep them on your hip, on your backside, and get to those looks. That was actually one of my main notes on him, is like, he's just really good at doing that, at keeping that defender in jail, as I call it. Starting to see him become more and more comfortable. One of his assists, like, to where he hits Jacobson in the post, or Jacobson might have got fouled. I don't even know if he got the assist, but like, he came off the screen looking to score, then realized there was a better option to pass. Big Easy 99 says Omer's defense has gotten better. It has. It's been improving, especially on ball, and also just love the energy. Like, he is.
Yep.
Like, they do it. I think him and Cluff do it in different manners. Cluff is more of just like, I'm going to be more physical than everybody, and everybody's going to notice it. Where Myers, I think, a little bit more just like, the hype you up type guy. But they both bring real energy to this team.
Absolutely. And I like to see how engaged he is on the sidelines when he's on the bench as well.
Yep.
You can tell how much he's enjoying playing for this program, and he's going to have a bright future here going forward, after Braden Smith. And when these guys get their turn next year, it's going to be a lot of fun. Here's SLK Boiler, who is in the Bahamas here, giving us an update saying players are coming out, tons of fans cheering them on in the hallway, probably irritating the hotel guests. Well, I'm sure the people that work at the hotel appreciate you guys because I'm sure you're putting a lot of money in their pockets. So have your fun, SLK. Appreciate you giving us the update. And so, yeah, let's, I don't know.
One more
One more.
real quick in 30 seconds or less than that. Aaron Fine, because he came in when there was still some starters, real starters, real bench players in. He looked like he belonged, and I'm not saying he should be a rotation guy, especially this year. But if we're talking about walk-ons, right? Our guy Bobby Buckets, he started as a walk-on, and by his senior year, kind of carved out some level of a role, kind of as the back-end bench guy. I don't know. Fine has enough game to him that he could potentially do that at some point, especially if the jumper does improve. But he looked like he belonged enough, at least as a back-end rotation guy. With I know it's Purdue was up 30 or whatever, and it's still bench guys probably at that point, but still, he looked like he belonged.
Yeah, he's got a little size to him, So
yep.
Okay. I don't know what else we got. What else you got? I mean, where are we at with this? I know it's later for you than it is for me. So
yeah, I
mean, up on 1 a.m. So
I want to shout out 400 and close to 450 live viewers on YouTube at 12:40 a.m. Eastern time. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I mean, we got more on Twitter and Facebook as well, which we do appreciate. But yeah, shout out Purdue fans for staying up late with us on a Friday night in November as we talk Purdue hoops.
Yeah, I'm gonna we'll see. I'm gonna check with Joe and Craig on their schedules for early next week. We obviously Thanksgiving's on Thursday, but maybe, no promises, but maybe we can get some kind of a special interview with maybe a player earlier in the week, maybe on Tuesday or something, was something I was thinking about while I was watching that game. We'll see. No promises, but I will do my best. So some of my thoughts there. I think that's about it. I mean, we can give out game balls, our play of the game.
I think do that. Couple comments, call it good.
All right. Well, we'll start it out with Craig. I know he left us a text and
without having looked, I would bet his player of the game is CJ Cox.
Yeah, let me double check it here. He goes, play of the game would go to the between the legs pass from Smith to Cluff for the dunk. And that was
between, I thought it was behind the back.
I think it was behind the back, not between the legs. That's okay. We had it, that amazing broadcast view, and Craig had the auditorium view. So, maybe a little tough to see, but it was behind the back, and it was very reminiscent of the pass we saw in the scrimmage, the fan day scrimmage where he goes behind the back to Cluff. That was a beauty of a play. What was your play of the game?
With that one being taken, then that makes it easy. Mine's it was early or later in the first half, maybe 4 or 5 minutes left, and it was one of the few possessions where Purdue kind of was a little stagnant, couldn't quite get their look. Lawyer just kind of ends up with the ball and drills a step back three. I'm trying to find the exact time, but I think it was like 4:40 left or 4 minutes left, and it pushed the lead up to 15 to 20 points. Just kind of was like, oh yeah, this is Purdue's night. They're going to run away with this one. Also just an impressive shot.
Yeah, absolutely. He also had the one where he came around the curl and barely had it in his fingertips and drilled it right after that. That was an impressive play. I mentioned the Omer Meyer keeping the guy on his hip. I really like that play, but I'm going to go back to Oscar Cluff, 15 and 15 on the night, the drop step. He even had the one where he dunked it. But I like the drop step. That was a really, really nice play and kind of showed, the veteran, presence that he brings to the table. And it also just kind of illustrated how much he was dominating Texas Tech at that point in the game, as Purdue just every time down was getting a bucket, and it was surgical, as I keep saying. So that was my play of the game. So going to player of the game, we'll start it out with Craig. He said game ball goes to Oscar Cluff, and that goes without saying. He was incredible tonight, an absolute force.
I'll let you go next for player game ball.
Game ball for me, outside of Oscar Cluff, I think I got to give it to CJ Cox just based off of the 2-night totality. It's nice to see him break out. Obviously, I kind of feel bad for Ja'Carri at this point because I know he's fully capable of doing everything that these other guards are doing. It just comes down to there's only one basketball and so many minutes in a game. But it was CJ's turn. I have no doubt it'll be Ja'Carri's turn here soon. That's how these things go. So I'm going to give CJ Cox my game ball for the whole Bahamas trip. He was big time, not just with his 3-point shooting, which was immaculate, but his ball handling, his decision-making, his rotations on defense. I just think across the board, he was just doing an incredible job and deserves a big shout out.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I mean, there's with how Purdue's scoring was, you have what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different guys in double figures. I'm gonna go the cheesy route. I'm gonna say the fans. We are a fan podcast at our core, and I do mean that though. Like obviously Purdue was dominant tonight, but between today, it was what 97% Purdue fans in there. It felt like it was basically a Purdue home game, at least in terms of the crowd. So I'll give it to the fans just because like it can't be fun. You're like, no, you're going to Bahamas. It's like, oh, it's a neutral site game. Cool. And then it's just literally like a road environment. It's like that can't be fun if you're the other team.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't fun for Memphis as Purdue beat them last night. And as Craig said, then Purdue fans got to root against them again as Miles Colvin buries the 3 to win it. I see Mike saying, shout out Miles Colvin for nailing that 3. He could have got the game ball here tonight, just even though he didn't play in the Purdue game. That was a lot of fun to see. A few quick start comments. We did have a super chat come in here from Jason Morris, $5 super chat. You guys do an awesome job. Keep up the great work. Appreciate you and appreciate everyone, having fun with me. I know I bring a different perspective than Craig does. Craig does an unbelievable job with Joe and those guys and the way they break down this game. And so it's always fun when it's the 3 of us. Obviously, he's having fun with his daughter, in the Bahamas and their trips coming to an end there. But we'll all be back at it next Friday for the post-game show. I will not be available because it's an early game and the Bears play at 2:00. So Joe and Craig will be holding down the fort next week, but maybe we'll get a show earlier in the week for you guys and try to bring on some special guests here. I am a Saluki saying, how many November tournaments in a row has Purdue won? Is it 4?
I believe it's 5. Let me look it up.
You had the Connecticut tournament where they beat UNC and Villanova.
They won.
Had another tournament where they beat Duke and Gonzaga.
In 2021, there wasn't one. 2022 was, the UNC Nova. 23 was Maui. 24 was Maui. 23 was PK85. Last year was the
Tennessee.
No, last year was NC State and Ole Miss.
Oh, okay.
And then so 5 in a row is what it is. And I forget all the specific names, but 5 in a row is what it's been. And in 2021, I don't believe they played in one because that was like the COVID year. And then 2020, I think they lost one of their games. So yeah, five straights. That means this senior class has never lost one. TKR has been on this program for 5 years, so he's never, like, out of those 5 years, has never lost one.
Incredible. A lot of fun to follow along with here as we cover this team. It's a pleasure. Boiler for Life 3325 says, just need a game to get Ja'Carri going. As we've talked about here early on, have no doubt that's going to happen. But when he missed that little bunny over the middle, just felt like he wanted to get himself into the game and he missed it. I was like, I feel bad for him because I know he's competing hard, but everybody else is having fun. He wants to get in on the action. He couldn't get that one to go down, but he eventually found his way to the hoop later in the game, got a bucket in there, trying to get himself inserted in the game. But obviously his effort is always top notch. So, he deserves credit of things that you don't always see in the box score. He's always bringing it, as all these guys are. They're deep. They're super deep. Max Schreiber here says, think AP gets it wrong again and puts Arizona number 1 after the UConn win, Joe? Or is this convincing enough for Purdue to stay at 1?
I would as somebody who does not care about the AP poll in the slightest, I would guess Purdue stays number one. That feels like too dominant of a performance to drop them to 2, but
Well, I
we'll
feel
see.
like they're not going to, just because they learned their lesson last week where they dropped them and then they immediately went back to 1, and that made them look stupid. So nobody wants to look stupid. Icy Mike says this was the worst tournament I've ever watched. I hate to bag on, yesterday I went all in on this tournament in the Bahamas, but I have to agree. The clock in both games, all 4 games, there was multiple times where they got to stop the game because the clock isn't working. The floor is slick. You got people cleaning the floor. It's just the conditions of the court. Fletcher Lawyer, after the game, we didn't even talk about this on yesterday's post-game show, but Fletcher Lawyer was interviewed by Brian Newbert and was claiming that he felt like one rim was higher than the other. The conditions of the court were bad. The broadcast and the way it was presented was not good. The lighting from a television standpoint wasn't great. The camera angle isn't great. The announcers, all due respect, we work in this media industry. I try not to go too hard on this, but these announcers were brutal. I'm sorry. I hate going, not going to go, DEFCON 4 here on this, but they were not on their A game. There was multiple times they were saying things where I'm just slapping my head like, what are you saying right now? Like, come on. Never mind the fact that at points tonight, I'm like, are you guys actively rooting against Purdue? Like, I know we're a biased Homer Boilers podcast here, but I didn't know what was going on at certain points in this game. And I know last night people were pointing out when he was giving credit to Bradshaw for not throwing a punch on Oscar Cluff. That was odd, and there was just multiple times where I was just like, and then when they got the clock wrong and there was 5 minutes left in the first half and then said 50 seconds, the play-by-play announcer like 50 seconds to go in the first half. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I just thought from a broadcast standpoint, playing condition standpoint, the officials weren't great. I get it's really nice in the Bahamas, and I don't like taking money out of people's pocket or rooting for that, but I just don't know how I don't think Matt Painter is going to be signing up for that trip anytime soon. I can tell you that. So we'll see, but that's my final thoughts on the Baha Mar tournament or whatever they call it.
Yeah. I don't got anything on top of that. Like, I got nothing.
Craig just joined the chat and said, let's go and boiler the F up. So there it is. We appreciate you, Craig. Thank you for all your hard work in the Bahamas. Try to have fun before you leave. I think that's it. You got anything else, Joe?
No, Purdue plays next Friday. Preview will be sometime next week. Yeah, enjoy this one. Enjoy this little tourney, and be able to now Purdue fans get to watch the rest of Feast Week stress free. Just get to enjoy some good college hoops over the next 7 or 8 days.
Yeah, and Craig, since you're in the chat, go run down Oscar Cluff. I want him on the show next Tuesday. Go see if he's available. Oh man. Well, it was fun. Purdue moves on to 6-0 on the season. And they are number 1 in the country for a reason. So boiler up, hit that like button on your way out, as Dead Hoosier says. And we will be back next week for sure. On Friday, these guys will have a preview up for that game next Friday as well. So stay tuned for that. And maybe we'll give you an additional podcast if we can put some things together. If not, regardless, if the last time we hear from you from Friday, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your holiday with your family. Please root for the Chicago Bears this Sunday for my personal happiness. I need it as the playoffs are getting closer, and maybe the Bears might actually make me happy the way the Boilers do as well. So I would appreciate any well wishes that way too. But either way, appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you, Joe, as always, for your hard work. Once again, thank you, Craig, for all your coverage in the Bahamas. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, And we will see you here next time on Boilers in the Stands. So have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the win. Boilers win by 30. One of the more impressive showings you'll see from the Purdue basketball program. So have a good night, and always Boiler up.